record label.
Tensions between Lil Meech and Rick Ross have reached a breaking point after an explosive confrontation where Meech accused Ross of ruining his life. According to insiders, the heated exchange took place during a private meeting meant to settle business disputes, but things quickly turned personal. "You ruined my life and everything my father built," Meech shouted, referring to the alleged $120 million BMF deal Ross reportedly orchestrated behind his back. Meech claims Ross manipulated contracts and cut him out of key profits tied to the BMF legacy, leaving his reputation and finances in shambles.
He did a lot for everybody, man. Banks, Lamborghinis. I'm over Banks had a Lamborghini. That in the snow, man. He even put it in the garage. In the snow, man.
Adding insult to injury, 50 Cent, who previously warned Meech about trusting Ross, has now spoken out saying, "I told him how this would end." The confrontation has reignited debates over loyalty, power, and exploitation in the hip-hop business world. With trust destroyed, the BMF empire faces its most volatile chapter yet. Things just took a massive turn for the worse for Lil Meech, and the situation is spiraling fast. Once the breakout star of the hit BMF series and positioned as one of the next big names in entertainment, he's now watching everything he built go up in smoke.
Yeah, so look, I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film. Which director? Shout out to my homie F. Gary Gray, Antoine Foucault, what's up? Tarantino, it's a lot of legends. This is gonna be big, I can feel it. I'm just talking,
And right at the center of the storm, Rick Ross. His calculated moves and petty tactics may have just derailed Lil Meech's entire career before it even reached its peak. The question everyone's asking now is simple. How did it come to this? How did a young star with momentum, money, and mainstream attention suddenly find himself cut off from his biggest opportunities and left scrambling for stability? And why did 50 Cent ultimately pull the plug on the BMF show? Let's break it down. At first, everything was looking up for Lil Meech. He was shining in a major role on the BMF series, a project that became one of the most talked about shows in hip-hop culture. The checks were rolling in, his acting career was gaining serious traction, and his future seemed unstoppable. But then Rick Ross stepped into the picture, and that's when everything started to collapse. Known for playing petty games and making power moves behind the scenes, Ross decided to cozy up with Big Meech, fresh out of prison. And make no mistake, this wasn't about friendship or business. It was about taking a shot at 50 Cent, his longtime rival, and stirring up drama for the sake of revenge. The fallout was immediate. In a move that shocked fans and industry insiders alike, 50 Cent canceled the BMF series entirely. And just like that, Lil Meech's primary source of income vanished overnight. No more multi-million-dollar contracts, no more television stardom. Years of hard work and momentum gone, all because Rick Ross decided to treat real people's careers like chess pieces in a personal feud.
They didn't want to make me nervous and, all that because it was still my start. So I was just going to the stars, building, the company building, meeting with the execs, and it might be one or two execs in there, and they just watching me, see if I'm good enough.
You took a picture with Rick Ross. Back against the wall and just slide down.
So look, Ross boasted, I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small-budget series. Now it's time for a big-budget movie. Which director? Shout out to my homie F. Gary Gray. And what's up, Tarantino? There's a lot of legends. This is gonna be big. I can feel it. I'm just talking. I'm just saying. That statement was Ross's attempt to shift the narrative, promising a blockbuster vision to overshadow the original BMF series that 50 Cent helped build. But beneath the surface, it was a direct shot, an effort to rewrite the story and take control of a legacy he didn't build. To really understand how we got here, we need to rewind the clock. The connection between 50 Cent and Big Meech stretches back to the early 2000s when BMF wasn't just a name, it was a full-blown movement. At the time, Meech was more than just a street legend. He was a symbol of power and excess, known for flashy cars, extravagant parties, and stacks of cash that seemed endless. His influence extended far beyond the streets. It was a cultural force. Meanwhile, 50 Cent was rising to dominance in the music industry, breaking barriers with his classic album, Get Rich or Die Trying.
Little Meech, and you put him in acting school. You know, you take him from Detroit. I remember him rapping when he was rapping, and nobody was helping him from what I seen. Because I remember when Lil Meech was rapping.
He was shaking up hip-hop with raw authenticity and unmatched storytelling, and his rise coincided with BMF's reign in Atlanta and beyond. As 50 himself once said, the crew in the South really had money down there, and they were living life to the fullest. The two worlds eventually collided, and for a time, 50 and Meech were genuinely close. According to Tony Yayo, the bond was real. There was even a time when 50 kicked it at Big Meech's house, with a young Lil Meech right there in the room. It was more than just music or business back then. It was mutual respect and shared ambition. But those early days of camaraderie would later become the foundation of one of the most complicated and public feuds in hip-hop history. Listening to his father tell stories about the past, Lil Meech was captivated. And according to Tony Yayo, the young star was mesmerized by the way Big Meech carried himself. The man had undeniable presence. His aura was larger than life, his influence commanding. But while Meech was chasing the thrills of the fast life, 50 Cent was approaching the game with a completely different mindset. He wasn't focused on quick flips or flashy payouts. He was building something bigger. He was treating the industry like a chessboard, carefully planning moves that would create long-term power and generational wealth. And that right there was where the fundamental difference between the two men began to show.
Lil Meech got Richard Millie's Chrome Heart jeans, 10,000. I buy some Chrome Hearts for 10,000. I might wear them shits for a month, bro. $10,000 jeans. You know, we was buying Red Monkeys. Them is what $1,000 back in the day.
When I first started acting, I thought it was just reading lines. Like in school, I'm the type of person, I'm trying to figure out how to get an A+.
One of the most overlooked parts of this story is the moment when 50 stepped in for Lil Meech, a move that would change the young man's life forever. At the time, Lil Meech was trying to make it as a rapper, but let's keep it real. Nobody from the BMF circle was really pushing him forward. His talent was raw but untapped, and without the right support, it might have gone nowhere. That's when 50 saw potential that others didn't and decided to act on it. He put Lil Meech in acting school, giving him the tools and training to transition into an entirely new lane. I remember when he was rapping and nobody was helping him, Yayo said. From what I saw, 50 was the one who believed in him. Lil Meech himself admitted that the experience was transformative. When I first started acting, I thought it was just like school, he explained. I'm the type who's always trying to figure out how to get an A+ without anyone telling me how. That early investment paid off. It gave Lil Meech the foundation he needed to land his breakout role in BMF and carve out a career beyond his father's legacy. And it proved that while some people were content telling stories about the past, others, like 50, were focused on building futures.
You know, he kind of broke the barrier between, you know, the Atlanta, the dirty South country, you know what I'm saying, thing. So you know what, they really got some money down there. They really having fun down there. I want to go to Atlanta.
According to Tony,
50 Cent took a calculated approach when it came to shaping Lil Meech's future. He enrolled him in an intensive acting program, making sure the training stayed under the radar until the timing was perfect. And when BMF finally hit stars, the payoff was clear. This was Lil Meech's breakout moment. His talent was undeniable, and his rise was no accident. It was the result of 50 laying the groundwork behind the scenes, setting him up for success when the spotlight was brightest. But 50's involvement didn't stop there. Over the years, he stepped in multiple times to help Lil Meech navigate challenges that could have ended his career before it even started. There was the incident at the airport when Meech was detained over a firearm, and another time when he faced accusations of stealing a watch. Each time, 50 stepped in to guide him through the fallout, acting as both a mentor and a protector when things got messy. Okay, this is for your safety and everyone else around you, authorities were heard saying during one of the incidents. Because there's a possibility of weapons involved, we have to confirm it. The X-ray doesn't tell us 100%. There's a chance, and that's what it appears to be.
Lil Baby he's not obligated to give you nothing. I looked at it like, from that point, maybe 50 should have brung a bag for Meech and maybe a watch or something.
However, while 50 was helping Lil Meech build a career and stay out of trouble, tension was quietly brewing behind the scenes. As Meech's star power grew, reports surfaced that Big Meech was starting to feel uneasy about the bond forming between his son and 50. In a now deleted Instagram post, 50 even hinted that Big Meech himself was part of the problem. He suggested that rather than steering his son toward the right path, Meech was subtly influencing him in the wrong direction, a revelation that added a new layer to the complicated relationship. The backdrop to all of this tension is rooted in BMF's history. Back in 2006, the organization was hit with a major federal RICO indictment out of Georgia. It was the first time a group had been accused of functioning simultaneously as a criminal enterprise and a legitimate record label, a case that would go on to shape how law enforcement approached hip-hop affiliated organizations for years to come. That legacy still looms large today, casting a shadow over everything happening between 50, Big Meech, and Lil Meech. When 50 Cent tried to guide Lil Meech away from dangerous habits and warn him about the risks of substance abuse, Big Meech was reportedly doing the exact opposite, glorifying the very lifestyle that nearly destroyed everything.
My kitchen right here, refrigerator, stove. It's the Ferrari right here. Keep the Ferrari for good luck. My Egyptian style furniture, the lion. I like that old school look.
I thought about it, 50 wrote. I think he was uncomfortable with the relationship between me and Meech. I'm telling Meech not to mess with certain things, and he's telling him he used to do X, like it's something cool. That clash in values was a major red flag. 50's frustrations didn't stop there. He advised Lil Meech to slow down his reckless spending and focus on financial discipline. But instead of reinforcing that lesson, Big Meech bragged about how much money he blew back in the day, glorifying the fast life instead of teaching his son how to build lasting wealth. While 50 was focused on discipline, stability, and growth, Big Meech seemed stuck in the past, celebrating the chaos that once defined him. That conflicting influence explains a lot about why things eventually fell apart. The breaking point came when 50 revealed a shocking truth. He had to send Lil Meech to rehab over an alleged substance problem. That revelation was a bombshell that changed everything. After all the time, money, and effort 50 invested into building Meech's career and securing his future, the situation behind the scenes kept spiraling out of control. Eventually, 50 decided he'd had enough. He cut Lil Meech off completely, pulled the plug on the BMF series, and stopped the financial flow. The investments dried up, and the millions that once seemed guaranteed were gone. And to make matters worse, Meech wasn't exactly helping himself.
Don't play with Wham. You know, Virgil on them folks.
Let's keep it real. He was spending like the money would never run out. His lifestyle went into overdrive. High-end sports cars, custom jewelry, designer fits, and private jet trips became the norm. He wasn't just living comfortably, he was living recklessly. Tony Yayo even called him out, pointing out that Meech was rocking Richard Mille watches, and those don't come cheap. They start at around $500,000 each, and Meech had more than one. It was a dangerous combination: unchecked spending, bad influences, and a refusal to listen to the people genuinely trying to help. And in the end, it all contributed to the collapse of what could have been one of the most successful industry transitions ever. Instead of securing generational wealth and building a legacy beyond BMF, Lil Meech found himself cut off, sidelined, and starting over from square one. Lil Meech's spending habits reached outrageous levels. He was reportedly dropping $10,000 on a single pair of Chrome Hearts jeans like it was pocket change. Lil Meech got Richard Mille's Chrome Hearts jeans $10,000, Tony Yayo recalled. I buy some Chrome Hearts for 10 grand, I might wear them for a month. $10,000 jeans, bro. Back in the day, we were buying Red Monkeys. Those were what, $1,000?
Correctional officer that is rapping like a drug dealer. It shows you that's the point in our culture that you can identify with you actually being who you say you are. Doesn't matter.
The contrast between then and now highlights just how extreme Meech's spending spree had become. And that was only the beginning. On social media, he constantly showed off his lavish lifestyle, from expensive designer wardrobes to a mansion that looked like something out of a luxury magazine. "This is my kitchen right here," he boasted in one clip, showing off high-end appliances. "Here's the Ferrari. I keep it for good luck. My Egyptian furniture, the lion, I like that old school look." Every corner of his home was designed to scream wealth and success. Meech wasn't just spending like a star, he was surrounding himself with them too. He was regularly seen hanging out with industry heavyweights like Future, Lil Baby, and Gunna, artists who pull in millions from just a handful of shows or monthly streaming checks. But the reality is their financial situations were on a completely different level. They could afford to blow money without blinking. Meech, not so much. "Lil baby don't owe you anything," Tony Yayo pointed out. From that point, maybe 50 should have brought a bag for Meech, maybe a watch or something. The statement reflected a growing sentiment. Meech was trying to play in a league he wasn't financially ready for. Even Yayo admitted that back in G-Unit's prime, they were reckless with their money too. They spent big on cars, jewelry, clothes, the works, but there was a key difference. 50 Cent always had a plan. He wasn't just spending for the sake of appearances, he was flipping his money into businesses, securing investments, and building wealth that would outlast his music career. Every flashy purchase was backed by a calculated move. Meech, on the other hand, was living like the checks would never stop coming. But without the financial strategy to sustain it, and that's where the danger lies. Without discipline, planning, and long-term vision, even the biggest bags can disappear faster than they came. And for Lil Meech, that reality was about to hit harder than ever. "You did a lot for everybody, man. Banks, Lamborghinis, I'm over Banks. He had a Lamborghini sitting in the snow, man. Didn't even put it in the garage." That statement summed up the mentality that built 50 Cent's empire. Calculated spending, long-term planning, and a constant focus on building wealth that would last beyond the music. But Lil Meech, he wasn't wired the same way. Instead of following that example, Meech tried to keep up with rappers whose income came from multiple revenue streams, touring, endorsements, merchandise, and businesses. Revenue he simply didn't have. And now that the BMF checks have stopped coming in, the harsh reality is setting in. That high-end lifestyle he flaunted online, the cars, the designer fits, the private flights, all of it is about to get a lot harder to maintain. "I don't play with Wham, you know Virgil," Meech once said, referencing the late fashion visionary Virgil Abloh, a sign of just how much he was caught up in image and appearances. But the craziest part is that none of this was a surprise. 50 Cent warned him over and over again. He told him to slow down, to stop spending like the money was infinite, and to focus on the bigger picture, building wealth, not just showing it off. But Meech was too busy flexing to listen, and now the consequences are crashing down. The unchecked spending, the reckless decisions, and the refusal to adapt have all led to a financial disaster that could have been avoided. And that's where Rick Ross re-enters the picture. Because while Meech's financial choices were hurting his future, Ross was fueling the fire in his ongoing war with 50. Their beef goes way back, and it's one of the most heated rivalries in modern hip-hop. It all started when 50 publicly exposed Ross's past as a correctional officer, a revelation that hit Ross's street credibility like a wrecking ball. Since then, the two have traded diss tracks, online insults, and deeply personal shots that blurred the line between music and real-life animosity. "Correctional officer that's rapping like a drug dealer," 50 once said. "It shows you just how far the culture has shifted. You can pretend to be whoever you say you are." That statement cut deep, and it's been haunting Ross's reputation ever since. And now, with the drama surrounding Lil Meech unfolding in real time, that old rivalry is fueling a brand new chapter, one where personal grudges and financial missteps collide in the messiest way possible. At the end of the day, who you say you are doesn't matter, what you do does. And when Rick Ross saw the perfect opportunity to align himself with Big Meech, everyone knew it wasn't about loyalty, friendship, or building something genuine. It was about one thing: taking a shot at 50 Cent and scoring points in a long-standing feud. And in one of the pettiest twists this game has ever seen, Ross managed to sabotage Lil Meech's entire career in the process. That's the craziest part. None of this needed to happen. 50 saw the play from a mile away. He warned Lil Meech repeatedly that this alliance wasn't about support, it was a setup. But Lil Meech didn't listen. He stayed loyal to his father and doubled down on his connection with Ross, and now he's paying the price. The fallout has been brutal. With 50 cutting ties completely and washing his hands of the situation, Lil Meech is out of a job, cut off from one of the most powerful figures in the industry, and scrambling to figure out his next move. The BMF series, the project that made him a star, is officially dead, and now he's got to find a new lane, and fast before the momentum disappears completely. But knowing Rick Ross's history of stirring the pot, this could just be the beginning. If Big Meech continues cozying up to Ross, the situation could spiral even further, dragging everyone involved into a deeper mess than they ever expected. So now the question is, did Lil Meech make a huge mistake by siding with his father and Ross? Or was 50 right to walk away and cut his losses after everything that's happened? And is Rick Ross being petty or just playing the game the only way he knows how? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're here, make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss any of the next wild updates. And don't forget, check out the next video on your screen. You're definitely going to want to see what's coming next.